Washtenaw folks joining us as well. I personally originally hail from Washtenaw, so there's that. But we're an organization of bus riders and our allies organizing for improved transit in the belief that transportation is freedom and that we all have the right, or should have the right, to move freely about the metropolitan region. We can't keep having a system like we do now that basically relegates people who don't have a car or not able to drive. That relegates us to basically being second-class citizens in this region due to our lack of adequate transit. We were founded about two years ago. Has it been 3 years now? I should check on that. We were founded a couple years ago, and we advocated very hard for the 2016 RTA regional transit proposal that was on the ballot. Sadly, as you probably know, that failed by a very small margin, just 1%. But we're looking at how to bounce back from that, and it really is critically important, I think, that we be very involved now, because this is, in the wake of that defeat, the region's political leadership is making decisions about how to proceed, and we need to be involved in that discussion, because if the past half-century is any indication, the region's political leadership may not be up to the task of improving transit without a little assistance from the citizens, especially citizens who ride transit or want to see better transit. So just briefly, so in the wake of the narrow defeat of the regional transit proposal last year, that leaves the Regional Transit Authority with a couple options in terms of how next to seek funding. And just to put it in perspective, Metro Detroit funds transit at less than half the level per capita of the average metropolitan area in the United States. So if we're really serious about improving transit in this region and in the city, we've got to have more money in order to do that. Buses don't run themselves. I mean, you need a bus for one thing. You need drivers, and all that costs money. There's simply no way we can do it based on the very limited transit funding that we have, which is one of the reasons why the Regional Transit Authority proposal last November was so important to bring us basically just into line with to the average metro region in the U.S. So, like I was saying, the defeat of the transit proposal in November leaves the RTA with a couple options. One is to put another transit proposal on the ballot in 2018. Legally, the RTA can only place transit proposals on the ballot an even number of years in a November general election. So, there's a possibility of another transit proposal in November 2018, a little under 2 years from now. Also, a possibility of waiting till 2020, 4 years from now. And at a meeting we had soon after the election last November, we took a little straw poll, and it was virtually unanimous. Everyone wanted to have another shot at approving a regional transit proposal, perhaps a slightly modified one, in 2018. I mean, personally, I don't know about you, but the prospect of waiting 4 years to even have a shot at approving a transit proposal, I mean, 2 years is bad enough, but 4 years, especially after such a narrow defeat last November, that's a I'm not I don't want to wait that long for better transit, and of course realistically it would be longer than that, since it takes time for the tax revenue to come in and actually build these new rapid transit lines, order the buses, hire the drivers, and actually get more service out on the road. So we've decided to advocate strongly for a 2018 transit ballot proposal, and what we've started to hear just in the past couple of months is it's really seeming like there's not a lot of momentum for that right now. The big four regional leaders, that is to say Mayor Duggan, Brooks Patterson in Oakland County, I didn't hear a hiss there, but Mark Hackle in Macomb, and Wayne County Executive Warren Evans. Those are the big four who are really the power brokers in this region, and a lot of decisions in the region are basically made by them sitting around a table at the DAC, whether that's smoke-filled or not. I don't know. I don't know what the DAC policy is these days, but you can imagine that it would be if you had the opportunity. So we've just launched a petition to the Big Four, urging them to tell their representatives on the Regional Transit Authority Board to place transit on the ballot in 2018. This is just an initial step to start putting pressure on them to do this, because historically, I think our problem in the Metro Detroit region has been that leaders like the Big Four aren't hearing a lot from their constituents about transit. And so they're able to kind of do whatever they want, and aren't necessarily feeling enough pressure from the public to take action on the issue. In large part because no one really, in this very fragmented region, it's often hard for ordinary citizens like us to really know who's making these decisions or sort of where the power lies. As you may remember, Brooks in Oakland County and Mark Hackle in Macomb almost blocked the RTA proposal from getting on the ballot last year, and we had some success getting petitions in, getting phone calls to their offices to pressure them to allow it on the ballot, which ultimately, under quite a lot of pressure, they did. So we're hoping with this petition that we can start getting pressure on those folks to actually take some action for transit and tell their representatives on the RTA board to put that on the ballot. If they don't do that, we also have some ideas on alternative options that don't necessarily involve the full RTA region. Local measures that, say, Wayne County could take, or Washtenaw and Wayne County, or the city of Detroit to take transit to improve transit as well. But I mean, what we really see as ideal is a regional measure that would, strengthen the regional transit system and improve transit across the all four counties. So that's our focus for the moment right now. I want to mention too, just this morning, the Regional Transit Authority Board had a special meeting. Ruth, were you there this morning, or? Yes, I was. You were. So, Ruth, by the way, is Associate Director of Transportation Riders United. So, thanks for being here, Ruth. And Ruth, yeah, feel free to add or embellish if you like. But basically, the meeting was about whether to extend the contract of RTA CEO Michael Ford. And coincidentally, in the Detroit News today, there was an article about Ford's supposedly extravagant travel expenses. I don't know, he stayed at some fancy hotels apparently for some conferences and so forth. And the article quoted Mark Hackle as saying, Hackle was saying, well, this is terrible. This is, how can he how can he?
You should resign immediately.
Yeah, I mean, well, he didn't actually say that.
Like you said, bad optics.
Yeah, bad optics, especially, as he said, after the RTA failed miserably.
Right.
Which is sort of interesting to say. I mean, it's, 1%, which is, not that miserable. And there's also the fact that, like, Hackle didn't lift a finger to do anything to pass the RTA. So there's that too, but
Do
no
you want
offense,
me
Mark.
to add some non-factual?
Between the lines. And if you repeat this, you will not associate it with my name or
Well, now I'm recording you.
There's always more to the story than the story.
Okay.
At least the story you're hearing. It was both, they went into, the RTA board went into closed session with the RTA attorney at the regularly scheduled February 16th meeting. And there were two proposed resolutions to extend his contract beyond October 2017, and a retroactive pay increase. I found that curious. It wasn't that much, but still curious. But they came out of that closed session, and there are two new members of the RTA board from Wayne County, because the two previous ones are now holding elective office. And by the RTA law, you cannot hold elected office and sit on RTA board. So they said they needed more time. I said, that's interesting. So they scheduled this special meeting today, and they went first into closed session to review his performance evaluation. Which, wouldn't you think they would do that before? I don't know. That seemed odd. Then they come back and immediately then go into now contract, again with the attorney. That was 3 hours of sitting around. I know more about people in the media, what they like to do on their days off and things like that. So they come out and say they had not reached a decision, no action was taken, and there'll be another special meeting on March 8th at Wayne County Community College downriver campus, which is not very accessible by bus. I believe there is some people on the board, I can't tell you who wants him out, but because of his contract, they can't just fire him. I don't think they have cause under their contract, but they could basically have a vote of no confidence. And once that happens, it would not surprise me if something, where we had a vacancy in the CEO.
Does it matter?
Pardon me?
Does it matter? Is he replaceable? Or is saying, does the
Well,
RTA die with
That's
him?
sort of like, ladies, do you stay with a guy? Just because you don't have someone else lined up, or do you just break up? I mean, that's the question. Some ladies say, until I find. I don't know what men do.
Because the village.
I'm just breaking it down. I'm sorry, Carolyn. You're looking at me. No, I'm looking around because I know my head is. No, I'm just concerned. Some people see the back of my head, so I'm spinning, so it's not you, Carolyn. But I'm just speaking to the ladies because I don't know if men do this. So I don't know if that's a concern, if you don't have someone lined up, whether it's okay to break up.
And what does it mean for transport advocates?
I don't know. I'm guessing, I'm surmising, I'm speculating. They're going into closed sessions, they are very tight, they're not saying anything, so I don't know what the votes are in favor of keeping them there and not keeping them there. I do think that is a question. If politically, I was talking to someone, I said if Jesus was the CEO, no offense to other people of other faiths, a CEO of the RTA, and he parted the Detroit River, would that be good enough for some people in other counties? I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's on the RTA board, how they got there?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I was just thinking, we really ought to produce a little document that sort of breaks this down. Thank you. Oh yeah, well, thank you.
I try to come prepared.
Yeah, basically the RTA board is appointed by the regional leaders, chiefly the county executives. Each county in the RTA region has two appointees to the board. So 2 Wayne, 2 Washtenaw, 2 Macomb, 2 Oakland, which is interesting when you consider the vast population differentials.
Don't forget, one city of Detroit.
Yes, between the counties. The city of Detroit has 1 representative,
In
who is
addition to the Wayne County.
correct.
Yeah.
And in addition, I believe one of the Wayne County representatives is required to reside in the city of Detroit.
If you,
So,
I mean,
Uh,
if you didn't know this goes back years to improve the transport of the whole area. We wanted to have one organization that would cross all the major counties, and that was the regional transport in order to, one funding mechanism for all of it, and that required a ballot.
If I could, and the governor, has one representative, non-voting representative, on the RTA board as well. So that's made for some interesting, sorry.
Who are the people?
Do you wanna
that we
list-
actually
It-
know?
Yeah, just briefly, the chair appointed by the governor is Paul Hilligans, major business, former DTE executive, among other things. The Washtenaw County representatives are Liz Gerber, who's a U of M professor, specializes in regional issues, and Alma Wheeler-Smith, who's a former state representative. The Wayne County representatives, who just actually turned over, they're both new, are Tom Kelly, former Obama administration official, and June Lee, who's sort of a longtime Wayne County and Detroit I guess you would say political official. In Macomb, Don Morandini and Chuck Moss, not Chuck Moss, Roy Rose, who were, I think Morandini was a planning official at Macomb at one point. Rose has an engineering firm, I think. Oakland County, former state rep Chuck Moss, and who is the other? And Tim Sauve, is that how you say it? Sauve, who's a longtime buddy of Brooks, is in county government. And Detroit's representative is Freeman Hendricks, longtime Detroit official, former mayoral candidate. But again, all these folks are appointed by the county executives, the mayor, the governor. So they typically follow the directive of those elected officials. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'll just moan a little bit.
So thanks you for asking. Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of what we've decided is to, I mean, it is, I think, helpful to contact the RTA representatives directly as well, but that's, for one thing, that's sort of difficult because none of their contact information is typically listed on the website, and it really is the big four who really are calling the shots here. Yeah.
I heard an interview with Mayor Duggan that Stephen Henderson did recently, and he was talking about his upcoming campaign, and one of the questions was about transit, and it seemed to me that Duggan was saying that he doesn't think that the RTA will pass, and he thinks, why would it pass if it didn't pass before? And there needs to be better coordination, and the fact that there's 3 different transit authorities in the area is a nightmare to him. So it seems to me that he's lining himself up to not support the RTA moving forward and maybe support something alternative. Do you have any insight into what, it seemed like he was trying to pivot towards an alternative, but wondering what that is and what that insight might mean for this group? Yeah,
so, well first, thank you for that. We've heard some similar things. Mason and I actually went to a meeting with Fred Westbrook, who's the head of the Detroit Bus Drivers Union, and Fred said, he'd heard the mayor say similar things, that the mayor wanted to tear the RTA up and start again, something of that nature. So that's also discouraging. And personally, I don't think the multiple systems argument holds water, because there are lots of other regions. In the majority of regions in the U.S., really, there's not a single unified transit system. Chicago has an RTA, and the CTA,
PACE bus system.
PACE, and the Metra rail system are all under the umbrella of that RTA. So I think, so I don't think there are some folks who say, well, we need to we need to merge everything before we do anything, and I think that's, not the best strategy going forward. Yeah.
So you talked about alternatives like, say, getting the commuter rail still through like cooperation between Wade and Washington, and maybe we could still get a single rider fare card and stuff like that. Does that have to be done through a funding initiative on like the 2018 ballot, or can that be done before the next election cycle?
It would be pretty difficult to, the fare card, maybe, but it'd be pretty difficult to do any new major transit project without additional
Do you
funding.
think we can get federal funding within the interim?
Unfortunately, well, first of all, with the current state of DC, I mean, there's actually, some people are concerned that, Trump may, and the Republicans in Congress may attempt to cut federal transit funding in its entirety. That probably, well, I mean, at this point, who knows? So I think the federal funding route, even under a different administration, would be challenging, because usually the feds do require you to put something in locally.
I mean, I think, yeah, you're right.
You have to match.
Local, match. But like, oh, never mind, you can go on.
But thank you, though, that's a good question.
So Joel, is there an option if we don't have any matching funds? Because our plan was based on matching funds, totally. So without matching funds, is that the scale down that we'd have to look at? For a new plan?
Oh, you mean with Trump in office now, in the federal matching?
Assuming the way things are going, that matching funds are going to disappear, or be privatized to the point where I don't think we want to even get close to them, then is there enough money? Because I didn't think there was in the state to fund the kind of project we started out with, that one that would end up, I don't know, what the 20-year project
Right.
that we had.
Yeah,
The initial plan wasn't that?
Right, yeah, so I mean, if it turns out that there are no federal funds for transit going forward, which, is a possibility, certainly not for certain. I mean, many of Trump's real estate investments depend very heavily on mass transit service, so there's that. But absent federal funding, yes, it would be quite difficult to build, especially rapid transit lines in the region. Those typically are very heavily reliant on federal funding. And this is getting maybe a little bit too much into the weeds, but historically the feds only fund capital, or almost entirely fund capital for transit. They'll help you buy new buses, they'll help you build new transit lanes or busways or light rail lines or what have you, but very rarely do they actually provide operating funds to run those systems. So yes, that would be difficult without federal funding.
Has there been any thought, or have you heard any discussions about modifying the plan as far as where the transit lines or rail lines are directed? Because in my 2 cents, if Macomb County doesn't want regional transit or they don't want to participate, that's fine. I would like to see a connection to Ingham County, because I think in a lot of ways going west makes more sense than going east. And Lansing is a lot more of a political and educational center for Detroit, a lot more than Macomb County is. So has there been any discussion in, maybe the direction of the transit lines or even the participating counties should change in order to have a more successful initiative?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't think there are any Macomb folks in the room to. Oh yes, Seema. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Well, I don't know if you want to make a But,
I think the issue that happened with Macomb County, frankly, is that it was the worst advertising and nobody came out. There were no, I checked the newspapers, there were barely any articles about it, there was barely any information, there was very little done in Macomb County. Went along with everything else that we didn't do in Macomb County and totally neglected. But those where workers are. Those are people who absolutely need transit. And we just didn't educate them that they don't have to be spending all that money on car insurance, driving their rest buckets up and down Gratiot, and when they can actually get on a bus and go to their different jobs. And we've got people up and down the roads in Macomb County that are coming from Detroit to work and vice versa, and would adore to have it, but we didn't reach these people. We didn't explain. They thought it was a big tax that they couldn't afford to pay for. We did a terrible public relations job in Macomb County, as
Yeah.
did the Democratic Party, parenthetically.
Well, I think you should clarify also about
Oh, yeah.
the county situation. So if you were to attempt to cut Macomb County out, you would have to pass new legislation. That's probably impossible. And at the very least would require a pretty significant delay.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, the RTA sort of counties are fixed in the legislation, which.
When was that approved?
2012?
Thank you. Yeah, so not to say that, we couldn't, reach out to other counties, down the line, but, if, in order to pursue something through the RTA, unless there's, amendments to the legislation, it would need to be with that four-county area. But, again, excellent question.